Okay, so today is Wednesday, and I promised you guys this video about the craziest shit I've ever seen in prison. There's numerous things I have written down, but first, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, help this channel grow, help it stay on air as long as possible. I'm trying to grow this channel. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit that share, and definitely hit that notification button. Okay, so I started my career in the state in '89. I've been to numerous California prisons, but also in 2005 I had made my way up north to Washington, Olympia, Washington. I went up there with a shitload of dope. I was on the run from California parole. Ultimately, I got robbed by the police, by Pierce County task force. They robbed me for dope and a lot of money. I was on parole in California on the run. They took me to jail for some bogus ass charges, nothing to do with dope sales, but that's what I got arrested for. And I ultimately bailed out under my little brother's name, along with my crime partner and my homeboy from my neighborhood. And so we was up there, and I was dead broke. The police robbed me for all the dope, all the money, let me bail out of jail, come home, had a duplex up there in the woods. Come home, all my money's gone, all my dope's gone, my new furniture is sliced up. The cops went and raided my house while I was in jail, and tore my house up. So I came home, me and the woman I took up there with me, and for 3 days I was pondering what I was gonna do. I had not one dime. Called home. I think my mom, I think my wife at the time, I was still married, and sent me some money, but it went fast. So I ultimately talked the girl I was in into robbing 4 banks. You can look it up, the Witch Bank Robber of Olympia, Washington, October 2005. Anyways, so I was down there, and I went through 2 trials, and I was in their county jail, Olympia, Washington City Jail, for a year and a half, almost 2 years. Went to prison down there. But during that year and a half at the county jail, I was in the whole year. And one of the craziest shit that I've seen, there's a lot, but this is one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed in my entire life. So this county jail is very small, maybe 200 inmates at the most. And I was in their high-powered tank, which is H tank. Out 1 hour a day. It was 3 tiers. And when I was there in 2006, I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And because everyone down there is Seattle Seahawks fans, I bet on Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, Pittsburgh Steelers won. So I bet everybody in the pod. It was me, a black dude from, I think he was from San Diego, and this white dude from Humboldt County. So there was 3 California dudes in this pod, and we all bet on Pittsburgh, and we won. We won a lot of people's money in there, and it wasn't that many people in the pod because it was the high power pod. They was single cell, but I think there was 8 cells. It was 3 tiers tied. It was 8 cells on top, 8 cells on the bottom, 8 cells in the middle. So that's 24 people in there, and 3 of us are from California. Ultimately, we had a riot the day of the Super Bowl. I think it was 2006. We had a riot, me and these other 2 cats with the whole pod. And I don't know if anybody's from California has been out of state, in an out of state jail or prison, but in jail, the cops don't like you, but a lot of the inmates, they want to know what California is like, because we lead the way in and how many people we have in prison in California. We're the #1 state with the most incarcerated gangbang state. So all these states that try to imitate us, people in jail look up to us from California. Ultimately, we had a riot. During this riot, now mind you, this is a prejudiced ass little town. Olympia, Washington is the capital of Washington. It's north of Seattle, north of Tacoma, and it's majority white. They have one black CO there, Muldrew. His last name was Muldrew, and he was married to a white DA. And me and these other 2 California dudes was riding with the pod, and the only black CO that works in this county jail ran in first to try to break it up, and I was standing over this dude hitting him, and when he grabbed my shoulder, I didn't know it was a cop. I turned around and fired and broke his nose. And this was, we got arrested November of 2005, maybe December 2005. It was after Halloween, after the last bank robbery we did on Halloween. So it was the beginning of my stay at their county jail. They sent me to their hole. EFGHI. I think it was J. ABCD. I think it was J. J wing was their hole. HI. J was their hole. Now picture this. It's only 200, maybe 220 people in this county jail. So their hole was only 6 cells. It had a phone, it had a table, and it had 6 cells, and the ceiling was 15 feet high, and they kept the light on 24 hours a day. It had your door window, and then there was a back, like a pathway they could come, and it's a little window in the back of your cell. They had a cardboard where the COs could pull it off and shine a light at you, but you're already lit up from the light up there, right? So I started out there probably in this, well, whenever the Super Bowl was. When is that, January or February? So I was in the hole for months, and this one cat, his name was Chaos. He was a gangster disciple. He was there for ATM robberies. And at the time, I heard that you could play crazy there and go to a place called Western Hospital, Western Hospital, which was a mental institute. And if they deemed you a JCat, crazy, then you couldn't stand trial. And a lot of people in Washington pulled this shit off. And I knew that talking to the other guys in the pod, but I've never been around someone that tried to pull this off. So this dude Chaos, I'm in cell 105, which is the end cell to the right when you walk in this little hole. He's in the cell all the way to the left. He's as far away from me as possible. He's next to the shower. And he came in, and the first day there, he's a tall cat. He's tall and skinny. He's like 6'3", dark skin, tall and skinny. I seen him walk in, and as soon as he gets to the cell, he starts doing beats on his table, and he starts singing. What's that song he sang every day for 6 months, man? Oh shit! Walking through the park, you're a beautiful son. Dun, dun. Who was that by? He sang this every day. Anyways, he used to kick his door, and the cops used to run in there frequently. Well, one day on my hour out, they used to let you out an hour out. I was out my hour out, and I walk up to the cell, and this fool has shit, literally shit, rubbed all over his body, all over the cell walls, and he's in there singing this song, and his cell floor got about 4 inches of water on it, and he's playing in the water, and there's shit just all over his face, and you can smell it. That's why I walked to his door, because I smell shit. But he's in there blowing this song, and this song he would sing whenever he was awake, he would sing this song, and it's stuck in my head, but it won't come out right now. You're a beautiful son. Dun, dun. Anyways, so it didn't dawn on me this dude was playing crazy, because there was several incidents in here where I thought he had me fooled. He came out of his cell for his hour out, butt naked, with shit all over him, and jumped up on the table and started swinging his dick. The COs came running, they had the mace out, and they was trying to talk him down, and he turned around, bent over, and took a shit on this table in front of these COs. Then he ran over to the phone and act like he was going to hang himself with the phone cord, and they didn't tackle him because he had shit all over. They sprayed him, they handcuffed him, they threw him in the shower, rinsed him off, put him in his cell. The next day he came out, he had took his light apart in his cell. So all these incidences go on for 6 months with this cat. For 6 months, I would try to talk to him because he wouldn't shut up and go to his cell. He would just look at me with just a stare like he wasn't comprehending what I was saying. For 6 months, this dude did this. Well, I used to get the newspaper in there, the Olympian. And of course, this town was so small, me and my co-defendant that robbed the banks, we was on the front page of this newspaper every time we went to court. So as soon as I read the paper, I would slide it to my next cell. And then, mind you, the inmates there was barely any blacks in this jail. Maybe a third of the inmates were black. Everyone else was white, Mexican, or native. There's a lot of natives up there. So it was kind of refreshing having a brother in the hole with me, but this dude turned out to be a J-Cat. So one day, I slid my newspaper after reading the article about me and my co-defendant to the next door neighbor, and the next day, I mean, this dude used to do so much shit that made me know he was crazy. He was a J-Cat. We call crazy people in prison J-Cats. That's what administration calls them. The psych ward calls them J-Cats. So I knew for a fact, I would have bet my life this dude was really crazy. So I guess the cat next to me had slid my newspaper down to this cat that night. So on his hour out, he came to my cell and he knocked on the door, and I'm in there doing push-ups, and I look at him and he's like, he don't say nothing, he does his finger like this. So I'm like, what's up? I go to the window and he whispers real low. He's like, hey dog, he said, I'm not crazy. I said, what? He said, nigga, he said, I know who you are. You the man behind the woman. And I'm like, what? That's what they called me in the newspapers down there, the man behind the woman. Because they said I had this 22-year-old California girl robbing banks for me. So they labeled me the man behind the woman. He's like, I know who you are. Man, you think I'm crazy? He said, I'm going to beat these charges. I'm going to fuck with you on the street because you're going to beat your charges. And then he went back over there and started pissing on someone's door and started shitting everywhere. He used to shit and rub it everywhere and started acting crazy again. And I was like, this dude could turn on and off like a light switch. But it fucked me up because he had me fooled for 6 months. And I'm a real good judge of character. But this dude used to do the most outlandish shit. He used to take, because they didn't give us clothes in the hole. They gave us boxers, a mattress with one sheet, no pillowcase, and a Bible. You couldn't have no writing material, no nothing. On your hour out, they'd give you a pencil and a writing tablet. You could sit at the table and write on your hour out. But no canteen, nothing in the cell. So I was going crazy in the cell. It's in my book. When I get to the chapter about that at the end of my book, you'll see what I'm talking about. I talk about this whole situation in my book, how I was going crazy in there. And there, I think there was 640 cinder blocks that my cell was made of. And I was going so crazy in this hole, I snuck my pencil in there for my hour out, and I named every cinder block in there. Charlene, David, and then I was going so crazy I would erase Charlene because she was fighting with David, so then I'd put Trina over there, and that's how crazy I was going. So, but this dude right here, man, he got his boxers in the sheet, and I told you these ceilings are 15 feet high, and the sink is at the back. If I stood on the sink and jumped off my sink, I could barely touch the light. This dude somehow took apart his light and got his sheet up there and was playing like he was hanging himself. And he actually hung himself to unconsciousness right before counting. They ran up in there and took him down. So all these things made me think this dude was crazy until he came to my door that day and was like, "Hey, homie, you think I'm a JK? Huh? I'm not crazy. Watch this." And he went over there and did some shit. That dude right there, I fucked with him too. He gave me his number. Like he said, he beat the case. He was out in 8 months after that. And I went to prison, of course, and then I ended up appealing mine and came home. I was only in prison down there at most 8 months, I think. And they gave me a lot of time. But that was one of the craziest incidences. I mean, not crazy, but it was a foolish incident that amazed me. But one of the most the incident that shook me up the most in prison, not the last time I was in prison, but one of the times I think I was there on a 3-year sentence. I was on the reception center side, and I was on the bottom tier, and I just walked down to walk in the chow hall in West Hall or East Hall. I believe it was West Hall. And as I'm standing in line for chow, this motherfucking Wood, this white boy, his head just hit right in front of me and exploded like a watermelon. And ultimately what had happened is during, they lock us down for a couple hours for count time, and they pass out our mail. Well, he got a Dear John letter. And this fool come running down the 3rd tier and dove off of it head first and landed very close to me. And all I remember is I'm talking to the homie, and just boom, his head just popped like a watermelon, and it sounded the most. And it happened very close to me. I had all kind of gray matter all over my pant leg and my shoe, blood everywhere. It just was crazy. His eye was hanging out over his mouth, and he was standing there. He was laying on the ground shaking like a fish. I knew he was dead, but his nerves, he was flopping like a fish. And check this out. This is how dirty the staff is at DVI. I don't know if he would have made it to a hospital or the medical in a timely fashion if he would have lived. But that dude stayed down there. They all made us get out on the ground. Ultimately, they called medical staff to come. And in DVI, I didn't want to know in DVI, they got the medical staff drives these little scooter things with a little gurney on it. So they drive it down there, they put the wounded on this thing, and then they take you. It took them damn near 20 to 30 minutes to come get this dude off of the ground. And then instead of cleaning up all this brain matter and the blood off the ground, they resumed program so we could go finish eating. This dude died. And how I found out he had a Dear John letter is because he actually put it in his pocket, but his cellmate had told us later on that his cellie had I think a 10-year, 8-year sentence, and he just got a Dear John letter, which means, people that don't know, his wife or his fiance had wrote him and told him she was leaving him, divorcing him for another guy or whatnot. But she was ultimately leaving him, and he couldn't take it. And this kid was young, man. This kid couldn't have been no more than 25 years old. And I never met the kid before this, but I seen what he looked like when his head exploded feet away from me. And that shit stuck with me throughout my life since I seen that. I've seen people get killed on the street and in prison. I've seen people commit suicide, but this one incident fucked me up. It was like it was probably my second or third term in there, so I seen a lot of violence. But for this dude to do that to himself over a chick, it's unfathomable. I couldn't even fathom, I couldn't even comprehend how a man could take his life over a female. I mean, yeah, I love my wife and I've been with plenty of women, but would I actually harm myself because a female left me or told me she was breaking up with me? Fuck no. I couldn't comprehend that shit. And I had many discussions about this with homies before, and I guess this ain't nothing against people from down south, LA, San Diego, but guys from up north, we have a different swag and different set rules when it comes to relationships and women. Like, there is guys in prison for ultimately killing their wives or their girlfriends in prison from up north, but the majority of people that I met in prison for either assault or murdering their spouses is from LA. And I know I'm going to get all kind of controversy on this, but my experience, I met so many people from LA, San Diego that was there for killing their spouses. One off top, I'm not even going to say his name, but he's from 40s neighborhood Crip, San Diego. He was my cellie. He's one. Another dude, Simo. I met a lot of people in prison for life for killing their wives or their girlfriend, and I can never do that. I can't even hit a woman. It's like it don't even. If someone makes you that mad, a woman makes you that mad, you should walk away. You should walk out. You should get out of there. Let her cool off. You should cool off. But to kill yourself, jump off a third tier, head burst, bam, and your head explode right in the, man, it was crazy as hell. That shit stuck in my mind. It really stuck in my mind. So in 90, I believe it was, I've been to Tracy Mainline so many times, I get the dates kind of messed up. I think it was 91, maybe it was between 91 and 93. I'm in DVI, and the goon squad run up in our cell, and my cellie, he was from Sacramento. I knew him since he was a kid. He's deceased now. Rest in peace, Rocky. SOS, Samoan Crip. He died out here on the street. He finally got out. But I've been knowing him. He was my cousin Albert's best friend. The Matafas, rest in peace, Rocky. But anyway, he was my cellie. And what had happened was he had a knife. And every time I caught a violation and went back to Tracy, he had moved me in the cell. I go to the main line, he had moved me back in the cell. So I cellies with this cat a lot. And he was a good friend of mine from the streets. And I think this was 92. The goon squad ran up in our cell because I was selling dope, and he had a knife in the cell. So they ended up giving us both the knife case. We both wouldn't talk, even though he kind of should have told him it was his, but we wasn't tripping. So they sent me to Corcoran. I think they gave me a 12 or 16 month shoe, something like that. And they sent me to Corcoran. They kept him in K-Wing. And they sent me to Corcoran. And at this time, I never did a shoe before. So this was my first actual getting sent out of one prison to another prison to do a shoe. And they kept me in K-Wing, I think, for 3 or 4 months before they sent me there. So I didn't have that much time left on my shoe. And I heard about the Gladiator fights in Corcoran. Everyone was talking about it. And so I get to Corcoran's shoe. They put me in the cell with this guy. His name was Seville. He was from LA. He was a LA Crip. And I had interactions with this dude in Sacramento because he was in there for killing somebody that I knew. He is so dope for my brother on the street, and him and these other two cats ultimately killed someone we knew, and everyone knew he was in the Shoe Incorporated, and this dude, I guess the cops knew he could fight hella good, so they would let him out. He had this is in the 90s. You didn't see this back in the 90s. Now you see it all the time. He had long ass dreads past his ass, and he had a long ass dreaded beard down to his dick. And this dude had like light, he was brown skinned, but he had light colored eyes, so he looked real evil. And we heard about this guy in Corcoran for years. The COs would let him out to the pie yard and let a cell of Southsiders out, but he would go out by himself, and they would bet on this dude to fight these Southsiders. So I knew about this. So they sent me to Corcoran, and I think I had maybe 6 months left on my shoe. And the first night I get there, he tells me, he's like, tomorrow's yard day, dog. He said, you don't have to go out if you don't want to, and I won't hold it against you, but it's fight night. And I'm like, fight night? He's like, yeah, they're gonna let Oso and Travasio out tomorrow, so the COs think they could get me 2-on-1. He said, so I kind of want you to stay in the cell. I'm like, man, you're crazy as fuck. I'm not letting you go out there. He's like, no, this is a weekly thing with me. He said they bet on me, and then when I win, they shoot me another tray. I'm thinking to myself, this motherfucker. This cat is going out there and fighting 2 Southsider gang members for an extra tray or an extra lunch or extra orange. It fucked me up. So ultimately, I was like, bro, I'm going out there with you. I don't care what you say. You're a Crip, I'm a Crip. I'm going out there with you, man. So I didn't know the protocol, how they worked, and he didn't lace me like he should have. So what happens is they pop my, okay, first of all, we hear sell such and such, get ready for yard. Well, that was Oso and Travasio, I guess 4 cells now, right? And I wasn't paying attention how big this dude Oso was that walked by the cell. He was mean mugging in my cell, and I was on the shitter. So I didn't see all this, but Seville took this all in. So they took them 2 out to the yard first, right? Okay, so when they take you out to the yard, what they do, you're handcuffed behind your back, and you got your towel up under your arm, and you're in your boxers, and you're in whatever shoes you have in the hole. And at this time, they gave you karate shoes. But for some reason, I guess Seville been back there for years, he had some Chuck Taylors, some white Chuck Taylors with the red stripe. And I had these karate shoes on, right? So them guys are out there on the yard. They come by, and they're like, you guys get ready for yard. We're already at the door waiting, right? So he's like, let me go first. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm at the door. So the cop gets me and takes me out to the yard, and he's walking behind me. And so when I get to the first door, he comes in the cage after me, and I reach my hands behind my back, and they unhandcuff me, right? Well, for some now once you're in this little that's called a dog walk, there's 2 doors. There's one door that you walk in, and you're locked in this little maybe 5x5 area, and then there's another door to go into the yard. Well, after they handcuff me, I go to the door to open up to the yard, and I'm looking through it, and the door's cracked open. So I push the door open, and immediately these dudes start, they throw their handball to the side, and they start rushing me, right? Now, when they get up to me, they're like, are you a homie? Now, this is the first time they seen me. It was my first day there. They didn't get a chance to see who Seville. Now, they should have known that I wasn't a homie, because they knew they was gonna fight Seville. So when one of them hesitated, I fire, boom. Now I'm thinking Seville is right behind me coming out to the yard. Man, I'm fighting this dude also. His home Travesio, he's trying to swing from the side, and I'm squared up with him going back, but Osa's the big one. So I'm fighting this dude hard, and this dude had no squabbles whatsoever. But I knew he was trying to grab me, and I wouldn't let him grab me. I hit him, boom, back up, hit him, boom. And by the time Seville came out there, I was out of breath. I was out of shape. I just came from a main line. I didn't have no workout. The workout I was doing was all weights. It wasn't no calisthenics. So I was tired as fuck. So when Seville came out there, he did some karate shit, and before you knew it, the block gun was going off. These dudes were both laid out. The block gun went off. Seville won't stop. He takes 3 Big Bertha shots, and Big Bertha is this. I think it's a 40 millimeter. I believe it's 40 millimeter, and it shoots these. They look like rubber handballs, but they're half moon handballs. They kind of look like about this big around, like this top. But just picture that is a handball on that side, and they come out, and it sounds like a cannon. Boom, 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 and he takes 3 of them before he gets down. I'm already out of breath over there by the sink, putting water in my face and shit. So he gets down. So ultimately, he was like, "Oh, we get some." He told me we get an extra tray tonight. I'm thinking to myself, bruh, you come out here and fight these dudes for an extra fucking tray, and it was unbelievable. He's like, them dudes made like $500 off of this fight, and I'm looking. When we're handcuffed, I'm looking up, and there is sergeants and lieutenants up in the gun tower, and they're giving us thumbs up. And I'm like, it was amazing because I heard the stories, but to be witness to it, it was crazy as fuck, man. So ultimately, I didn't want to go out no more. I really didn't want to go out to that yard no more. Anything could happen. You get shot by the many if this cat decides not to stop. But I think in my 6-month stay, I went out there 4 times with him, and every time we went out there, except one time, they let oh wait, let me back up. So the next yard I didn't go out, but the 3rd yard, he was like, bro, he said they're letting 2 cells out. Check this out. They're letting 2 cells out on us today. I'm like, 2 cells? That's 4 people. He's like, look, it's only I forgot their names, but it was only 3 of them. It was a dude in a cell by himself, and it was what was that dude's fucking name? Fernando. They call him. He was from Wilmus. The dude that I fought was from Wilmus. Seville took on the other 2, but I remember I hollered at this dude after we fought. He's like, man, I never met no one from up north that knew how to. And I was like, what do you mean never met no one from up north that could fight like that? But anyways, we went out there with these 3 Southsiders, man. And this fight, they didn't even shoot the block gun because this fight was so good. This dude Seville, he really knew that shit. And growing up, I used to box. As a youngster, I used to box with Tony the Tiger Lopez from Sacramento. I trained with him a couple times, but I used to run with him, and we used to fight in his front yard. So I grew up boxing with gloves, like really, literally boxing. So I knew how to box, but when it comes to street fighting, it's a lot different. But I like to box a lot. But this fight, these cops let this fight go on until one of the dudes that Seville was fighting, his shoulder was popped. I was feeling sorry for this cat, man. He was a youngster too. His shoulder was literally pushed backwards, and his shoulder bone was poking out his back, man. And the other dude, his whole face was sore. Seville used to kick him. He would side kick him and crescent kick these dudes in the face and fuck them up. But I was fighting the other dude, and afterwards, it was like, it hit me, man. These dudes are up there. They're betting money on us killing each other out there, because he told me about guys coming out there with razor blades. He had marks on him from getting sliced in his face one time, on his back. But I was like, bro, this shit is crazy to me. This shit is really crazy to me. And that was another crazy ass experience I experienced in prison. But this next one, this next incident, and I know there's going to be a lot of comments about this, talking about I'm lying, talking about that didn't happen. But check this out. Soledad, North B Yard, level 3. I'm there on a bullet, a 12-month violation. I want to say 97, 98, 97 to 98, 97 to 98, North B Yard, Shasta Building, I believe it was Shasta Building. I go to Shasta Building. This is the only prison I ever been to where they have a washer and dryer, and you do your own laundry. You don't send your laundry out to get clean. And it was lovely there. The store, everything was lovely. So a lot of you cats from LA, you're gonna know who I'm talking about right now. Bobo Floyd from Harlem, Godfather Crip, and his brother Forehead. Okay, so I'm married. My son is let me see. Oh wait, no, it couldn't have been 97. Maybe it was. Maybe it was later than that. Yeah, because my surgery for my kidney. Okay, so I don't want to tell you the year because I don't know it right now. I did so many violations. I got 10 years just in violations. But I'm going to look back and I'm going to tell you what year it was. So this story is authentic. So Bobo Floyd from Harlem is there. And I heard about this cat. Never met him. Just heard the stories about him in Quentin. About his reputation. And picture a dark-skinned Suge Knight, 3 inches taller, same build, no nonsense, in his late 40s at this time, maybe 50s, and he's there for a life sentence. The story and what he told me was, I know he was there for a murder, but he told me, I think, a fabricated story because I met his brother Forehead later there at the prison, and I didn't even know it was his brother because they didn't even talk. We'll get into that in a minute. But this dude Bobo was the biggest corn-fed black dude with a no-nonsense mentality, bully mentality that I've ever met in prison. Beside this one other cat from Swans. This cat was, if you was a Crip from anywhere, and he went by your cell in the daytime and you had it blacked out or you was laying on your bunk, anything, he would kick your door. I seen him hit a dude. They got 15 phones on the yard lined up, and I seen this Crip dude, I believe he was from Bible Crip, which used to be schoolyard, or school, yeah, used to be schoolyard. This dude Bible Crip, and he was older, on the phone, sitting on his ass, and this dude Bobo came up, grabbed the phone, and hit this dude in the head and busted his head open because he was on the yard sitting on his ass. So this dude was, a lot of people were scared of this cat. I heard the story where he chased 2 dudes with knives taped to his hands that did some faulty shit, ran into Riot at another prison. All the bullshit you could hear about a bully, I heard about this dude Bobo Floyd. So I get a visit. Bobo Floyd's in my building, in Shasta Building, and I do some interactions with him. I'm getting closer to him, and he's in the cell by himself, and he got so much shit. This dude got them Foot Lockers. He got 4 of those in the cell, and used to draw. Easy Rider magazine used to pay this dude $500 to $1,000 to draw patterns for their motorcycle gas tanks, and he showed me the checks. He was the only black dude that I ever met that could draw better than some Mexicans. He was an excellent drawer, but he was also alcoholic. He used to make White Lightning and drink it all, wouldn't sell none. Even the Southsiders in there that don't supposed to mess with us used to fuck with this dude and hold his wine for him. I know there's going to be conflict in my comments about this, but I promise you, everything I'm telling you is authentic. I'm going to give you some names of people who were there during this time too, because we had a riot with the Woods over what I'm telling you right now. So I'm in the visiting room, and I knew who Bobo Floyd's wife was, how she looked, because I'd been in the visiting room before and seen them in there. So me and my wife, yeah, my son was already born because she brought my son up there. So this had to have been after 99. This had to have been 2000. It was 2000 or 2001, because when I got home, I had kidney surgery, and I thought Soledad had something to do with me having cancer from my kidneys from their water, but it was Tracy. So anyways, I was in this visiting room, and Bobo's wife was in the line for the microwave oven, and somehow she gets in an argument with this white woman that's standing there with her husband, which is a white cat, and she calls Bobo Floyd's wife the N-word. And I heard it. I was a little bit away. I was at the machine buying something, but I didn't. You know how you hear something and it's just you're trying to listen to your wife talk, but it alarms you? I really didn't pay attention to who it was and who was saying it to who until another cat, C Styles, came over and told me, he's like, hey, visit with your wife right now, because when Bobo gets in the visiting room, they're gonna cancel the visits. He's gonna knock this white boy out. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, this white girl just called Bobo Floyd, his wife, the N-word. And I'm like, oh shit, I just barely got out there. I've been out there like 10 minutes. I'm barely buying my food, so I'm rushing my wife. I'm like, baby, heat the food up. It was a Saturday. I said, if they cancel our visits, come back tomorrow. She had a hotel out there. She used to come every weekend. And she's like, why, what's going on? And you know, you can't really talk prison politics with your spouse. That's like considered pillow talk. I just told her that it was probably going to be an incident in the visiting room, and let's move our table over a little bit farther from where we was, because I knew Bobo Floyd's wife had the table set up not too far, 2 tables over from us. This is what happens, and I know for a fact there's going to be people in my comments saying this did not happen, but I promise you, Bobo Floyd walked in the visiting room. His wife already knew what he ate, so she had all the food that he liked on the table heated up. Bobo Floyd was over there and they was talking. He was leaning back. Picture this. Suge Knight, dark skin, bald head with a black and gray beard, and he was at least, I don't want to put a 10 on it. Okay, so you know how tall, you know how high the top bunk is? Because I ultimately moved in with him, this cat. I was a cellie. After no one wanted to move in with him, they were scared of him. I moved in the cell with him, and I was on the top bunk. And I used to sit on my top bunk, and he used to stand on the ground while I'm sitting on my top bunk, and we used to play pinochle on my top bunk. That's how tall he was. So I'm gonna say 6'4", maybe 6'5", 300. 295 to 310. That's what he weighed, and he wasn't fat. He worked out every day, even at his age. He would do sprints, he would do pull-ups. This dude was a tank, and he had an attitude like one. He walked in the visiting room, he sat down with his wife, he didn't touch his food, and I'm watching him. See, every black in this visiting room is watching Bobo Floyd. And sure enough, he gets up, he walks over to this white dude. He waits until the white dude, he don't interrupt their conversation. I know his wife is looking at Bobo Floyd, and Bobo Floyd's wife, she's kind of a big girl too, and she's standing right by his side. And I guess when there was a break in their conversation, Bobo Floyd told the white dude to stand up, and the white dude didn't. Bobo Floyd slapped this dude with an open hand. Like this is a black dude that is a Crip putting his hands on a white dude. You don't do that in prison, and you damn sure don't do it in the visiting room. Visiting room rules are, it's neutral ground. Neutral ground means no fights, no stabbings, north, south, whoever you're at war with, it's neutral ground. Bobo Floyd slapped this dude so hard, this dude flew, and he was asleep, and he was on his side with his head on the ground, and he was asleep. And his wife was so scared that she ran, and there's a gate, and she was trying to get out of this gate. She was scared that this dude just knocked her husband out with an open hand slap. And I'm gonna tell you something. Bobo had killed somebody at this prison back in the 70s. So 25, 30 years before this, he had killed. No, he didn't kill. He had threw a CO off of the tier, and I guess the CO got his back broken. There's many incidents. If you look this dude's name up, I think his first name, he has Shirley tattooed on his chest. Is his first name Shirley Floyd? Does he got a girl name? I know it's him and Forehead Floyd. I'm gonna look him up, and I'll tell you guys later. But check this out. This is how spooked the COs were of this cat. And every time there was an incident there, they would let him out, and he would go door to door. He wasn't even a MAC rep, but he would talk to the blacks if there was a fight or a discipline. But this dude the COs were so scared of him. What they did was they walked over to him, and they seen it on camera. He slapped this white dude. The white dude was knocked out. I don't know what was said with Bobo, but Bobo went back and started eating his food, and they went and cuffed the white dude up. His visitor already ran out the gate and took this dude and took him wherever. So, come to find out, this fucking white dude was on our yard in the next building. It was Shasta building, and I can't think of the other building's name, but he was in the other building. And this is the craziest shit, probably the single craziest shit I've ever seen in my life in prison. Bobo took a liking to me. It's known that he don't like cats from up north, but and he knew I was there only on a violation, and I like Bobo. I liked his get out. I just didn't like his bullying. I seen him knock this sack cat out. He snaked him too. They was going to fight behind these laundry bins, and on the way there, Bobo was in front of him. Bobo turned around and knocked this big old, they was both big old cats that knocked him out. He didn't even give him a fair one. He like, there ain't no rules in fighting, dog. He said, I don't know if he's gonna get me if we put him back up when we went back over there behind them laundry cars. So I got mine, and I just happened to knock him out. But check this out. Bobo knew that because he put his hands on this white cat, he knew that it was going to be a bigger issue. The white cats weren't going for that. They was pretty thick. And so what Bobo did, he came and got me. He's like, dog, we're going to such and such building. I'm like, all right. He's like, hold this for me. And he gave me this. It was about almost long as a ruler, and it was a flat. Anyone know what a flat is? It's basically a bone crusher. It's a shank, and it's flat. Picture a steel ruler that's 12 inches long, and on one end it's sharpened down, and it had this white cloth around it, and then medical tape. So the handle was probably 5 inches. So you probably had another 6 to 7 inches of blade. And I put it in my waistband, and he told me don't put it nowhere, put it where I could get to it. So I'm like, I don't ask no question. I'm going with Bobo, and I'm following him. He's like, you're with me. We walk up to this building that we don't even live in, and Bobo worked in the kitchen at nighttime, first watch. He would go make the lunches. So he'd be gone all night, and then he'd get off work in the morning time and have all these fruits. And so a lot of people would try to buy fruits from him, but he would use them for, everyone knew Bobo Floyd on his yard. if you was a Crip, Blood, Southsider, North, and there was North Indians there and Southsiders at this time. And I got another story during this violation that was crazy as fuck too, about the Norths. But check this out. We walked in this building. Bobo went up to the CO stand, talked to him. They waved him through, and he told me, come on. And the police didn't even look at me, didn't search me. Now, they usually search you when you go into other buildings. I was spooked. I was there on a violation. And this cat got me going with this knife to another building, and I don't know what he's going to do. He don't tell me nothing. He had found out what cell this white cat was in that he slapped and knocked out. And he goes up the stairs. He tells me to sit down in the day room. He goes up these stairs, and he goes to this one cell door, and I could see through the door it was a white dude, but it wasn't the white dude that he slapped. So I guess he was talking to one of the white dude shot callers, and then Bobo pointed and told me to meet him at the end of the staircase at the back of the building. So I meet him at the staircase. He comes down the stairs, and he walks up to the cell right to the left of the staircase, and he's like, stay right there. So I'm staying there with the knife, and I'm sweating. Bobo walks up to the cell, knocks on the door. The white dude that he knocked out was laying in bed. His cellie came to the door, and he tells him, I want to talk to your cellie. So he comes up, and Bobo talks to him, and this is what he tells him. He said, look, we don't want to cause a riot. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get your door popped, tell your cellie to leave, I'm going to come up in there, and we're going to handle it like men. I got one, you got one. Bobo slid this white cat a fucking piece, and then told me to hand him the piece that I had, and he was waving for the cop to open the door so his cellie could leave and he could go up in there, and the white dude was like, no, and slid that motherfucker right back out. He was terrified. What do you think happened to this white dude? I want to hear your guys' comments. On any yard, a white dude gets slapped down by a black dude in the visiting room in front of his wife. First of all, he is no longer credible even with his wife to let someone, well, I can't say he was knocked out. And Bobo was way older than this white cat. But this white cat was so spooked, he slid that motherfucking thing out and told his cellie to, you could lock your door from the inside where they can't, nope, not here. I take that back. Soledad, the cops got to come and key you out. That's right. So he told Bobo no, ultimately. He wasn't coming out the cell. He wasn't letting Bobo come in the cell. Negative. So Bobo was like, you know your folks is going to, he'd rather his folks deal with him than him, Bobo's big ass going up in the cell. His cellie heard all this shit. So Bobo gets the other thing, hands it to me. Now I got two of them. He's like, let's roll. Before we could get across the yard back to our building, the alarm goes off in that building. The white boy that he went and talked to and his cellie stabbed this white boy up so bad, and it wasn't over yet. They stabbed him up, got rid of him. White boys went on lockdown for 3 days because it's white on white, right? When they came off lockdown, now at this time I already moved in with Bobo. People thought I was crazy. You're going in there with that giant, nobody wants to be in there, he's a bully. But me and Bobo became real tight in there on this 12 months. And when I came home, I looked out for Bobo for almost a year. Shot his wife, his wife lived in Bakersfield. So they got this guy, got him up out of there. And when they let the white boys off lockdown, we was all in the yard. It was a Saturday. And the Hoover car came. Okay, so I'm from NC, Northern Crip, and there was like 8 of us there. Jerry was there from Flat Dog Crip with me. J Loke's brother, little brother, or older brother, I think. He was there with me. Mohammed from Fresno, Hoover was there with me. and a couple other cats. So the Hoover car comes over to us and was like, "Hey, come on, it's going up." And we look across the yard, and the white boys got a wall built. They're in the middle of the yard, and Bobo and all the blacks got a wall built, and they're like 10 yards away. So it looked like one of them Vanguard, them Viking movies, where two group segments are lined up against each other, and there's a gap between, and you're just waiting for them to clash. So me and Jerry from Flat Dog, we run over there, and now my heart's pumping because it's going up. I know it's going up. So we get over there, and this cat from the Bay Area, he was an older cat, and he had just got there. He had an afro. I remember he had a big ass afro, and him and this white dude go in the common ground between where they're lined up, and they're over there talking real quietly. And the black dude from Oakland had another dude with him, and the white dude had a dude with him on his side. So now there's 4 people in the middle of this where I know it's going up, and they're talking. So whatever year that they took our button-down blue shirts and our Levi's from us, and they gave us them blue shirts with the yellow writing on the back, that was this year. Whatever year they was taking that was this year, because ultimately this clash that really didn't happen, it didn't kick off as a riot. It was more geared toward administration, and I didn't know it at the time. Bobo didn't lace me. So the cops went and got their riot gear on. They're surrounding the whole yard, and so they're out there talking, and ultimately the whites sit down, the blacks sit down, because they're on the speaker, and there's usually 1 cop on the building with the gun. There's 3 cops on this building, 3 cops on this building, and 2 cops above the gym. And so there's 8 cops with guns up there, so they're expecting a riot, and I'm expecting a riot. But there was there was something bigger going on. Oh, they came out with a memo saying we had 30 days to get rid of our 13-inch TVs, and we had to order 9-inch TVs, and we had to turn in all our pants, our personal Levi's, our state issue pants with the buttons, and we was going to get these stretch pants with CDC written down the leg, and then blue shirts you see now with the yellow. Back then they didn't have that. They had real prison shirts, button down blue shirts where you could crease up your pants, but they was giving us these pullover shirts, and we had to sit on our 13-inch TVs home. We had a memo coming out, and they used this incident to fake a riot so we could sit down. And I guess our yard, North B yard, and North A yard was supposed to participate in it, and everyone was supposed to sit down, and we wasn't supposed to go to chow, and we wasn't supposed to lock up, and the police supposed to lock up. We were supposed to sit on that yard all night long until they sprayed us and forced us back to our cells. And we stayed out there till like 10:30 at night. And they ultimately brought a helicopter over us, and they was yelling at us to go in, but there was no riot. But I guess the white boys was satisfied with them stabbing the dude that Bobo slapped in the chow hall. I guess they were satisfied with that. The riot never happened, and I was so damn grateful. I had a 12-month violation. I could have got killed. I could have killed someone. I always carried a knife in there because Bobo was my cellie and he was a knife maker, so I always had a good piece of iron on me. And of course, if there's a riot, of course, I'm gonna do everything to defend myself. And I probably would have ended up stabbing someone. Hopefully I wouldn't have killed them. But that's just what happens in prison. It's not. I was there on a 12-month violation, and this incident could ultimately either took my life away or made me kill somebody and get life in prison. And I was there on a violation, and the violation I was there for, you guys aren't going to believe this. I had a gun on my wall that was an 18th century turkey gun with the cement barrel. The barrel was cemented, and it had been on my wall for years. And my parole officer violated me for ex-felon access to a firearm. The barrel was cemented, and that's only one fake violation that I had. I had one for a fucking steak knife in my bedroom on a plate with potatoes and a steak on it with a fork. I was eating a steak in my bedroom, and they violated me for having a steak knife out of the kitchen for a year. I've had so many violations for some bullshit. They don't violate you like that no more. But in the 90s, they was violating you for anything. I got 9 years and 11 months in just on parole violations. Can you imagine that? I've been in prison for 9 years for parole violations. Never gave them a dirty test for all bullshit. I had a keychain one time with a bullet shell on my keychain. It was a keychain bullet. They gave me 12 months for that. My gear shift one time was made out of brass knuckles. They gave me 12 months for that. Can you imagine going to prison for 12 months for a keychain or a gun that been on your wall, your family's wall forever, that was cemented barrel? I got a ticket, I believe it was 60 miles out of Sacramento, a speeding ticket. And because I didn't get permission to go over 50 miles, they gave me 12 months for that. I used to get 12 month flat when I got my violations. I didn't get half time on my violations. They give me flat time. So I did a lot of time on violations. So that was the incident with Bobo. Him slapping another race in the visiting room, knocking him out, and walking to his cell and sliding another race a knife. Back to Bobo. So Bobo got a little brother. Bobo had life. I think he was under the old law, 7 to life or 5 to life. He'd been in jail a long time, and he was a known factor in the 70s in the riots in Quentin. I heard about him. Even a northern uncle I have out here, Carleos, told me about Bobo Floyd, and they're both now in their 60s, and he told me about this dude. But anyway, check this out. A month before I'm leaving, now mind you, I'm cellies with Bobo. He's giving me drawings. He's showing me how to do shit I didn't know how to do. And I already been in prison 4 or 5 times before, maybe 6 times before I met Bobo. But check this out. He was showing me shit in there, how to make white lightning hella fast, like in 3 days. But a month before I was leaving, I bought a TV when I was there. I always go to prison with enough money to take care of myself. I always expected to go back. So I always had, money in the bank to take care of myself. And I always was married. I always had my wife, and she always had a good job. I never used drugs. I always made my own way in prison, sold drugs, sold tobacco. Well, back then you could smoke, but now there's a different strike. Sell tobacco. This time around, my last sentence, made a fortune off of tobacco. My counsel was bringing it to me. They suspected me and her having a relationship. Someone told staff at Vacaville I got her pregnant. She ultimately got walked off. But that's a whole other story. I'm going to do a segment on that. But so Bobo comes to me. Mind you, I've been in celly probably now 11 months. No, probably 10 months. 9 months. We were celly for 9 months. And my last month there, he knew I had 30 days left. I'm a real prison nigga, a real convict. I've been on the street almost 5 years, and look what I'm smoking. You guys know what this is? You guys know what this is? I've been smoking this shit for over 30 years. That's crazy, huh? This shit's $10 a pouch out here. Cigarettes, I think, is 12 or something like that. But I'd rather smoke this because it's all natural Turkish blend tobacco and it don't have a filter. The filter is what gives you guys cancer. You guys know that, right? For all you smokers out there smoking Marlboros and Newports and all that shit, that filter you're smoking, that got fiberglass in it. That's what's coating your lungs with fiberglass, and that's what gives you cancer, not the tobacco. Even processed tobacco, Marlboro stuff, they got so much chemicals in that. This is naturally non-cured tobacco, Turkish tobacco, and it tastes hella good. I've been smoking that shit for 30 years. So this ain't weed that I'm smoking on film on my channel. This is actually bugler tobacco. I'm not no broke nigga. I just, people at the clubs, when I was going to the clubs when I first came on, they had clown me. That nigga dog smoking tobacco, smoking bugler still. He's on the street. But I've always smoked bugler. I got a Mercedes Benz, and there's tobacco in my car on my floor mat on the driver's side all constantly because I'm steady I'm steady rolling cigarettes in my car. I shouldn't even be smoking in this Benz, but I can't help myself. I open my sunroof. I don't use my ashtray. I flick it out the sunroof. But look, 30 days from going home. Bobo comes home from work one morning. He's like, dog, what are you going to do with your TV? Okay, so back then you ordered your appliances from Walking Horse. I had a 12-month violation. He told me don't order a TV because he was going to give me a loaner. But I had to have my own shit. I don't want to break his extra TV. Well, he had so much shit. So I bought this TV from Walking Horse, and for some reason R&R cut my speaker so you could only use the headphones to listen to it. So I was mad about that. So I took it apart and I tried to put a speaker in it. I never ended up fixing it right. So I had to wear a headphone. And I think back then I paid $199. It was a bubble TV. They didn't have flat screens back then. It was a bubble TV. And it was a KTV or some shit like that. So I only had it for 9 months, I believe. So he came to me after work one day. He's like, dog, what are you going to do with your TV when you leave? I'm like, you can have it. He's like, nah, I don't want it for free. I'm going to give you $100 for it. And I'm like, Bobo, you got 2 TVs in your cell. You're watching 2 TVs. He's like, nah. He said, I'm buying it from my brother, forehead. I'm like, your brother? He's like, yeah, he's on the yard next door, but he's the window guy. He comes over here and fixes the broken windows. We don't talk, but he came to the yard yesterday and he told me he didn't have a TV. And I'm like, you got a brother here? That shit fucked me up. You never spoke about your brother one time, and he'd been on this yard for 3 years, you told me just now, and you haven't even spoke about him? And he tells me the story. Why he hasn't talked to him, and why he will never talk to him except he's going to buy him a TV. This shit fucked me up. Forehead. Now, Bobo and Forehead, they got, I think, 1 or 2 sisters. Maybe even more than that. But one of his sisters had a kid, which was Forehead's nephew. And I don't know the circumstances. Don't quote me on this, but I do know the facts. The reason why Bobo didn't fuck with his brother Forehead, and for you people from Harlem that know Bobo and Forehead, you guys could confirm this for me. Forehead was in there for killing his nephew, which is Bobo and Forehead's sister's son, over a kilo of cocaine. I don't know who took what from who, but it didn't sit right with Bobo because this is what he told me. He said, I said, you don't fuck with your brother? He said, not at all. He said, he's lucky he's still living. I'm like, damn. What? He's like, he's lucky I ain't killed him yet. He killed my nephew. He said, but I'm his big brother, so I'm going to buy him a TV and then tell him to go back to his yard and don't talk to me no more. And these guys really were real brothers. I think they had the same mom and dad. I think Forehead's last name is Floyd too. And Bobo, when he spoke, you just knew he was authentic. He wasn't a fabricator. He wasn't plastic. He wasn't. I call people plastic that are fabricators, and I don't gravitate towards them kind of cats. You just knew Bobo was a real one, and he knew I was. That's why he moved me in the cell with him. And the other incident, another incident, is Soledad North B Yard. I had a distant cousin there that was a Norteño. Kiki, we'll call him Kiki. And so I had a little bit of insight on that. They was deep there too. This is probably the thickest I seen the Norteños on one prison yard besides Tracy from 89 to 91. They were so thick. they was almost even with the Southsiders, and you don't see that ever. You don't see as many Northerners as Southsiders on the yard. Southsiders always outnumber Northerners 2-1 at least. This yard, they was almost even. They wasn't even, but almost. I'm in the canteen line. I got I'm on S time. Anyone knows what S time is? That means you're 14 days to the house. You don't go to work no more. I didn't even have a job there, but they put you on S time. That means you don't have to work if you're working. That means you're 14 days to the house. And usually people on S time, they kick back, stay in their cell or in the day room. They don't go to yard. I'm not like that. I go to yard every day. So I was out in the yard going to canteen on S time. I get to the window and they tell me my books are frozen because I was on S time. And I'm like, damn, I didn't even know I was on S time. I knew my date, but I didn't factor in that I couldn't go to the store. I had shit in the cell. Bobo had hella shit. I didn't need nothing, but I was going to go to the store and leave it to my little cousin. I walk away from the canteen window, and my cousin walks up with his homeboy. He's like, dog, stay on this side of the yard. We're about to lay the yard down. And when someone tells you that, you don't ask questions. You don't ask who, why, what, when, where. You just take heed to it and stay away from where they're at. So the cat I was with, Jerry, Tolliver, where you at, Jerry? I seen you a couple months ago at the body shop, man. We chopped it up. I lost your number, man. Hit my channel, hit my Instagram. Get at me, man. I need to interview you on this so you confirm this shit. Anyways, he comes and tells me that, right? So now me and the homie, our focus is on the Northerners, and our area actually was very close to the Northerners, but I wasn't going to my area after he told me that. So we stayed over there by the phones. And the way North B Yard is set up is prison control is between North B and North A Yard is where the cops hang out at. There's a couple cops on the yard walking around, but they're always up on the buildings with their guns watching. We're sitting there and we don't hear nothing. We don't hear no get down. We don't hear nothing, but we know there's something that happened. And man, I'm sitting there by the phone, and this short Northerner, I remember he was bow-legged, and he was from Stockton. Can't think of his name. He comes walking by me, holding his neck like this, and every time his heart beat, blood would gush in between his fingers. And he was, all this was opened up from here all the way over to here, but he was holding his artery, his coronary artery, together because he knew that they hit that artery. If he would let go of this side of his neck, he would lose so much blood he would bleed out. He was holding that motherfucker together, and he was walking calmly as fuck. Anyone that's seen someone's throat open an inch all the way across, it's the grossest shit. His Adam's apple was sticking out of his skin right here. It was the grossest shit. He walked past us about 4 steps. He almost got to where the COs were through the gate, and he just fell over. And when he fell over, his hand fell, and every time his heart beat, this blood would just poop like a water faucet. They ultimately saved him. A nurse, a CO got like not a paper clip. You know them black. You squeeze them. I use them for my chip bags, my potato chips, to close them after I open them up to close them and clip them. Well, they're these black things with these 2 silver things, and you pinch them and they open up. Then you let go and they close. They put one on his fucking neck, on his artery right there, and closed that. And they got the gurney and ran him to the infirmary, but we heard he lived. And you wouldn't believe what my cousin told me why they hit this dude for. This dude was supposed to be keeping post. Northerners got a very strict workout program. And when 5 or 10 of them were over there working out, they always got 3 or 4 of them posted up. So nobody else could walk around their homies working out. This dude left post to try to go put his canteen ducket in with one of his other homies. No warning, no, no, don't do that no more. You're gonna try to kill this dude for that shit. Northerners got some rules, man, that, man, I'm so glad when I started my career, when the Northerners was really pushing on me. Because I've been pushed up on a lot. When I first started my career, my family are all Northerners, and they're well-known Northerners, active Northerners. And because of that, when I hit the prison system, not Hawaii so much, but when I hit the prison system, I had a cousin, Mexicuz, that was from 29th Street back in the days. And when he went to prison, his brother was a Northern. Rest in peace, Tony McGill. But he changed and he became a Northerner. He's still a Northerner, active Northerner. But to me, from going from a Crip to changing who I identify with and what I believed in all my life, and changing gangs and being from another gang, I couldn't do it. So I went against the grain. It's very much against the grain when you're my color and you don't change. All my life I've been like this. I've been a Crip all my life in the prison system. Never rolled it up, never been rushed by the white boys or Mexicans, never by a group segment. I've had fades back in the days, and you guys, check this out. This is how close I was with Northerners. There's going to be comments about this. Back in the 90s, the early 90s, I used to sell with Northerners. Larry Laba was my cellie from the Gardones. Casper from Broderick was my cellie. All these tattoos on my chest was done in a cell when I was in a cell with Larry Laba, and he was a known Norteño. So you can't do that now. Northerners can't sell with anybody but Northerners. But 91, 92, 93, I was a Crip from Sacramento, and I sailed with Norteños before. I never was a Norteño. I got 29th Street Garden Block Crip on my back. I got big ass dog on my stomach. And I sailed with Norteños in 91, 92, and 93. And there's going to be so many comments. There's no way. But you youngsters that ain't been around since back then, you don't know what was done in the prison system. I sailed up in Gladiator School, Tracy, DVI, with Larry Laba. He fell off now. He's on the other side. Casper, his name is Brian Steele from Broderick, was my cellies. I even had a cellie from San Jose named Magoo. Magoo, everyone knows Magoo, and everyone knows Little Man from San Jose. If you're active, you guys know these cats. They're known factors from San Jose, and I sailed with all four of these cats back in the day. So I was that close to them. I assisted them in a lot of shit because they couldn't lock me down with the Northerners when I locked down, and I would assist them. I was a sympathizer. I never was a Northerner, never functioned under their rules. I always was a Crip. And a lot of people, oh, dog, this, dog. I was a Crip from day one, never changed up. But they trusted me because they knew who my family was. So I was on the inside with these cats. And their get down is very militant. They ran their whole organization like the Marine Corps. Everything about them, their workouts, their rules and regulations, what they could and couldn't do. Always someone was above someone else in that organization. It was never a vote on anything, none of that shit. Like Chris, we have votes on shit. This dude messed up, we're gonna vote. How is he gonna get DP'd? Are we gonna put hands on him? We're gonna stab him? We're gonna stomp him out? Does he gotta do 1,000,000 burpees? How are we gonna do it? Northerners and Southerners, they don't play that shit. So them are some of my most craziest shit I've seen in prison. I got some more too. Where's another one? Oh, check this out. 95, 94, 95. I was in Z-Dorm, the zoo. This shit fucked me up too. I was in Z-Dorm. 2 incidences when I was there. The first incident, this CO in the tower. Now, picture a gymnasium with 300 people in Z-Dorm, and then a cyclone fence with barbed wire on it with another 150 people in Y-Dorm next door, and a gun tower with 2 COs walking over you with mini 14s 24 hours a day, with these big old red targets on the wall for warning shots. If a riot breaks out, they shoot the mini 14 in these big old red wooden targets, one warning shot, and they shoot you if you don't oblige with whatever they're telling you to do, their orders. 2, 3 in the morning, you can walk around Z-Dorm. You don't have to go to bed at a certain time, so people stay up all night. People work at night. There's people walking around there. 2, 3 in the morning, a gunshot goes off. It wasn't a fight, wasn't a riot. This CO put the mini 14 up under his neck and blew his own head off up in the gun tower. And I believe 1995, I think it was September 16th. It was summertime, hot as fuck. How I know that? Because they used to keep the garage during night rolled up in the summertime. And I remember going over there throwing up because my bed was literally under this gun tower, and when I heard the gunshot and I woke up and threw my covers off, my covers had pieces of his hair, wet hair with blood on it, on my fucking bed, on my wool blanket. That's one incident. Before that incident, I always sold drugs in prison. I always made a way for myself. I had found a way to get them in. I sold drugs. So I worked with a lot of different factions in there. Southsiders and white boys, they're not supposed to buy drugs from Crips or Norteños or blacks, period. But I can tell you right now, more Southsiders and more Woods, more skinheads used to come to me, and this would be their spiel. Dog, let me get a gram of this. Let me get a gram of that. The money will come in a week. Whatever you do, don't let my homies know. Hundreds of people would come and break the rules over drugs. There's a cat with a channel right now. I'm trying to do an interview with him. He got a big channel. I'm not going to say his name. He got a big channel on YouTube. He's doing very well. And he was with me in Pleasant Valley when I took off on the Bulldogs. When I had to ride with the Bulldogs, he was there with me, and he's one of them. He's a Southsider, ex-Southsider. I guess he don't bang no more. He went to the other side for his own reasons. Shout out to you. You know who I'm talking to. I got at you yesterday. We need to put something together real soon so I can interview you on my channel. But he's one of them that came to me and bought drugs from me 2 or 3 times a week when I was there. I was only there 6 months, but he used to buy drugs from me and make me promise that no matter what happened, I wouldn't tell his homies because they would deal with him. They would stab him for buying drugs from me. But that just shows you. But check this out. I'm in Z-Dorm, 1995, I believe it was the summertime. Before that cop killed himself. And the reason why the cop killed himself later on, the other COs told us, is because he had called home. He was married. And another man answered his phone. And he already was tripping. That's why they put him in the tower. He wasn't allowed on the floor with the inmates because he was tearing up our shit. Because he was having marital problems at home and he was bringing it to work, his problems to work. And he had so many complaints against him, so many physical incidences where he got in fights with inmates that they put him in the gun tower. Well, ultimately, what he suspected his wife of doing, cheating on him, I guess he called home this night and some other dude, and it was rumored, I can't confirm this, but his wife was fucking another CO that worked there. That's what the rumor was. I never confirmed that, but I know for a fact that he killed himself in Z-Norm with that Mini 14, blew his whole head off with that Mini 14, and I know for a fact what it was for, because let's just say one of the COs there, I had him in my pocket. I used to work with him on certain things, and he would give me the intel on a lot of COs there, who was hoes, who was fucking other COs. He'd give me all kind of shit. He's retired now. What's up, Love? CO Love. That was my dude, man. Stockton cat. Real cool ass CO, man. And I know a lot of cats on here, you was fucking with the CO. Hell yeah, I was fucking with the CO. He was bringing it to me. Bringing me all kind of CDs. I was the first one in Z1 with the CD player. When they started selling CD players from cassette players, then Walkman cassette players, he brought me a CD player with a big ass thing of CDs. Chico the Barge and Life Gen, all kind of shit. But yeah, so I had the intel on that. But check this out. The other incident in Z-Norm that I witnessed, a northerner went out there to the visit. We call it the dance floor. He went to the dance floor, visiting room. When you go to the visiting room to go hit, people know what I mean when I say hit. We call it going to the dance floor. So this northerner went to the dance floor and came back. And the next day, I seen he was on the top bunk. The northerner was on the top bunk. So on the top bunk, you can see everything that's happening. So I seen this northerner switching bunks with his bunkie, and him moving his mattress to the bottom bunk, and his bunkie moving his bunk to the top bunk. Now, mind you, this is in the 90s. This ain't in the 2000s. A lot different back then. A lot different. So I seen this cat move to the bottom bunk, and he was pouring down sweat, and his eyes was like this big. This dude was tripping. And you guys know, Norteños in prison, drugs, hard drugs is a no-no. Any drugs is a no-no for northerners. Norteños can't use drugs in prison. I knew this dude was on drugs when I seen him. He was pouring down sweat, and his eyes was humongous. Now, mind you, at this time, I was selling heroin, black, chiva, carga. That was my thing. That's always been my thing in prison. I've never had a northerner buy drugs from me, ever, in prison, except this one time. I was sitting on my bunk. I witnessed this northerner trading bunks with his bunkie. He was sweating, pouring down sweat, and his eyes was this big. And a northerner that I was pretty close with from San Jose came over to my bunk. He's like, dog, he said, I need a couple grams of that black. And it fucked me up. I'm like, all right. I didn't ask him about the monies, how he's going to pay me. I went to the bathroom, got it out, shot him 2 grams, and I didn't ask no questions. Later on that night, he came over there. He was like, do you want canteen for that? And at the time, grams were $300. $300 a gram. And they wasn't even street grams. They was like, can you guys see the tip of my finger? That's what I took, a street gram, and I cut it in half. And I sell half of it for $300, the other half for $300, and I call them grams. That's what everyone did in prison. A match head back then, just picture a regular match head. That was $50. So, an ounce of heroin, I was clearing $8,000 off of 1 ounce of heroin in prison back in the 90s. Now, when I was just there in the 2000s, when I pro in 2018, I would probably make $4,000, $4,500 off an ounce of black. Back then, I was making what I just told you. He came, he asked me, did I want canteen or money? I didn't want no canteen. We only had lockers in the gym. I had 2 lockers full of canteen. So I wanted money. He's like, next time your old lady comes up, my old lady will be out there with the money, just she'll give it to him. It was fine. Come to find out, the cat that was sweating over there, he swallowed a zip of crystal and balloons. That's a no-no. Everyone knows in prison, man, you don't swallow anything but weed, tobacco. You don't swallow black, and you don't swallow crystal or cocaine, any hard drugs, because some people's system you can't get it out right away. I've never swallowed anything but weed and tobacco. That's the only thing I've ever swallowed. I hoop shit out there, but I've never swallowed hard drugs. That's a no-no. This dude swallowed 16 balloons with 2 grams in each one of crystal, and he didn't know how many busted inside of him, but some of them busted this fool's eyes, and he needed the carga, the black, so he could bring this dude down. Look, when something like this happens, you can't just go to the infirmary. You can't just go to the hospital and be like, I swallowed an ounce of crystal. So either you gotta get it out, you gotta use something to balance it, so you don't die, but you have to stick it out. You can't go to the infirmary. Your people ain't gonna let you go to the infirmary. Besides, they want that drugs out of you because that's money in there. This dude, this ain't no bullshit. This was a Saturday or Sunday. This was a Sunday, the day after. Okay, back then, so visiting right now is Saturdays and Sundays. But back then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when you get visit 4 days a week. They cut it down to 2 days now. But back then you could have it. So it could have been either Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But I remember the next day after he came back from the visit, you could tell something busted in him because he was pouring down sweat and his eyes were big. And Northerners don't use drugs, or they don't supposed to. I don't know about these days. Anyone probably could use drugs if you keep it on the under. You could sneak and do it. But as far as I was concerned, they didn't use drugs. And this dude, I was told it busted him. This dude was up a whole week. He wouldn't sleep. And they was bringing him ice packs because he was overheating. And this dude lived. He ultimately lived. And they came back and got another gram. So within a week, he took 3 grams of heroin. And he probably never used heroin a day in his life. And they was giving this fool heroin. And he wasn't shooting it up. He was snorting this shit. And if you never used heroin or opiates before, and you're taking 3 grams in a week, you are fucked up. I've seen cellies. I had a cellie, Loggy from Stockton, man, on his birthday. He was like, dog, give me a gram. It's my birthday. I threw it up there to him. And during count time, man, this is another fucking incident. This is a DVI. During count, Loggy was an OG. He was Samoan and black. And his family was rich on the street. They owned a trucking company. And he had a brother, Popeye, doing life. But this dude, Loggy, was the coolest celly I ever had, man. The coolest brother I ever had. He was from Stockton, Northside. He didn't gangbang, no. He was a Jama cat. His whole family was. So this cat told me it's his birthday. He wanted a gram of some black. I threw it up to, he was on the top bunk. I threw it up to him. And this is way before count. Count time comes by. Picture this. I'm on the bottom bunk. My TV's on. I'm laying on my stomach. And I'm writing a letter. Now, my mattress is rolled up at the head of my bed. So I'm on the steel, we call them cookie sheets. Cookie sheets with 2 towels laid out. And I'm on my stomach, not facing the door, facing the back of the cell, and it's count time. And I'm writing a letter. And I hear, hey man, what's up with your bunkie? And I'm like, I get up off my stomach, stand up by the door, and I look up, and Loggy, his name was Log Dog. Loggy was up on the top bunk, butt naked, with his legs pulled back over his shoulders, scratching his ass with both hands, like a baboon. No bullshit. This dude had got a bugler can. I watched him. Took the gram of heroin I gave him and poured some sugar on top of the bugler can. Took pieces of the gram I gave him and cut pieces of it into the sugar and smashed it all together and snorted it like lines. They was lines of sugar and heroin mixed, but it made it powdery, and he snorted them. This shit was fire though. And I told him, this ain't the average shit. I got this shit from down south, from Pasadena. I had someone on the yard from Pasadena, and I knew they had fire down there at the time. and I bought 2 zips, so I had fire. And I guess Stockton wasn't used to this type of dope. This shit was like not pure, but it was good shit. This shit had this dude up on the top bunk, naked, scratching his ass in the CO. It was a female. Her name was CO Wynn. She got fired later. She had an affair with the inmate Taco. Man, I'm like Taco. I think Taco's dead now. CO Wynn ain't working there. So that's why I'm saying these names, because these cats that I'm talking about, the only time I'm gonna say their real names is if they're no longer with us or they went to the other side. But these cats that I just mentioned, every cat I've talked about with my little cousin are deceased. And some of these cats I was real close to. So look, the CO, she was like, hey dog, all the COs, because I've been around, they call me by my nickname. They know me by that. It's on my stomach. So when you've been around a long time, they don't call you by your last name. They call you by your nickname a lot. She was like, dog, when I come back around, have your celly dressed and have them cleaned up. And I was like, shit, I've never had a celly that did heroin before. I don't know how to deal with this cat. I had uncles on the street. So ultimately, I finally got him to come around and put his pants back on, put on his sweatpants. He was up there scratching his ass. He was like, dog, that's what this stuff does you. It's the best feeling ever when you scratch an itch when you're on this shit. And he kept telling me, man, try this. Man, never. I've seen too many people on the street, family members, and in prison fall off of that shit. I couldn't do it. So that's another incident. What about, I'm going to tell you about this other incident. Oh, so this incident right here, I mentioned this dude in another video that I did before. He used to play for the Oakland Raiders. His last name is Casey, Kasey. Big old, light skinned, bald headed with a beard, just like Suge Knight, like Bobo. And he was a CO in DVI. And he couldn't stand Crips. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. It was a brother, it was a Crip dude from Harlem. Not going to say his name. He's still around. He's still active. And I don't want to put him out there like that. He worked in the kitchen. Casey had a fiance that he was about to marry, and Casey's been in DVI for years. Ever since I started going to DVI, Casey's a known-ass CO. He's one of them COs, wears them Gladiator glasses, light-skinned dude with the beard, bald-headed, and he wore the formal CO suit with the jacket, with the whistle. He was a super cop CO. And he was big, and everyone knew he didn't like Crips. And he didn't like Crips because of this incident I'm about to tell you about. His fiance was a white woman. No, she was Mexican and white. She was a half Mexican, half white chick. And she wasn't something I would get at on the street, but in there, she would pass as something you would hit. Just put it like that. She wasn't a beautiful ass broad, but she had a little bit of body, and people was hollering at her, and that's why this cat Casey was gonna marry this broad, because obviously he was attracted to her. So she wasn't an ugly broad. Let's just say that she was cute in the face. Nothing beautiful, but she was cute in the face. Not gonna say her name either. Yeah, I'm putting you on blast, Casey. And you could come on here and verify this. I know you don't want to come on here because you don't like me. You try to get at my wife in the visiting room many a times. So we'll get into that later too. So Casey was gonna marry this broad, and it was his day off. I don't remember what day it was, but it was his day off. And the Harlem cat, young cat, swole too. Swole. You know, all he used to do is work out. Was having an affair with Casey's fiance in the kitchen. She was a free staff. That means she wasn't a CO. She just worked for the state, and she prepared the food, and she had inmates working for her serving the food. This cat, and no one even knew this until this day, this cat was in there getting head, in the free staff's office, and another CO, a CO walked in and caught this cat getting his dick sucked by Casey, which was a CO's fiance. And what they did, this is how crooked CDC is. What they should have did legally is they should have walked the chick off and fired her, took dude to the hole for over-familiarity, for having sex. It was consensual because he was sitting in the rolling chair like this with his pants down, and she was kneeled down in front of him chopping him up. So that's what they should have did legally. They should have walked her off, fired her, took him to the hole, either gave him whatever time, sent him up out of there to another prison for over-familiarity, and fired her. They didn't do nothing like that. What they did was they called Casey. They took dude to the hole. Okay, they handcuffed him right there on the spot, took him to the hole, took the chick to the program office and handcuffed her in an office, and called Casey up on his day off and told him what happened. How me and Casey know each other is my first week in prison from CY. He's the one that was in the cell when that CO said I was gonna throw him off the tier, and they beat me up in the classroom thing with the bunks in the dark. He's the one when they took me to the hole and they threw me in the cell handcuffed. He's the one that was in the cell waiting for me and need me in my groin and need me in my solar plexus. So I've been knowing this cat from the first day I walked into prison in 1989, and I couldn't stand this big motherfucker. And he knew I couldn't stand him, but I was married to his sister. My first marriage, and she was bad, and she used to come visit me every weekend, and she used to tell me, and this cat Casey didn't even work in the visiting room, but when he knew I had a visit, he would come in there and hang out, and he would try to holler at my wife. And I checked him 2 or 3 times over this shit. He couldn't stand me. He act like he liked me. Oh, I'm gonna hire you on my bitch ass nigga. You ain't gonna hire me. You trying to get at my motherfucking wife. And check this out. So they called Casey up. They had his fiance handcuffed in this office, and we don't know what was said with him and her. We just heard the rumors from the other CEOs telling us, but ultimately what we do know for a fact is Casey and this Mexican CO went to the hole and beat this cat up from Harlem so bad. He was in a coma for like 6 days. They beat this dude unconscious, man. And Casey never missed a beat. He didn't get laid off. He didn't take a leave of absence. He was there every day, 5 days a week from this incident on. And later on, the Crips should have rushed this dude. The Crips should have stabbed this dude, but that didn't happen. What ultimately happened was some Kumi cats did, though. Later on, they rushed this dude and jumped him. And he still works there. I believe he's still there to this day. He might have retired by now. I haven't seen Casey since 2008. 2010 when I went back on my case. Now he was there in F-wing, and he used to charge people for breaking their window. He was a bitch ass police. He was a police. I don't know his first name, but he did play for the Oakland Raiders back in the day as a linebacker. And I don't know if he retired, he got hurt or whatnot, but everyone knew he played for the Raiders. But that's another incident. Bro, they beat this Harlem cat, and I knew this Harlem cat. He was a youngster, and he was a bull. He was a short, stocky, just all he did, his muscles had muscles. This nigga was so swole, and he wasn't a dark-skinned dude with no curl from LA. He wasn't none of that. He was a you could tell he wouldn't have a problem on the street getting bitches. You know what I mean? He carried himself respectful. He didn't sag, none of that shit, and he had conversation. He could conversate with you about everything. He was an old soul for being so young. I knew this cat personally, man, and it fucked me up when I found out what this cat did to him. And I tried to push, but if you know prison politics, me being from up north Sacramento and him being from Harlem, down south LA crib, I don't have that much pull in that car. But I was trying to push because of my own personal vendetta with this dude Casey. So I was trying to push the Crips to actually, to have some kind of get back on what he did to the homie. But I'm from Sacramento, of course, and ultimately I can't make a call like that. If it was one of my homies from up north, of course, we would have went about it a whole different way, and we would have probably handled our business with Casey. He was a known asshole, and that would have opened the door for us to ultimately attack him. That happens every day in prison. COs get attacked, and sometimes the wrong ones get attacked because you can't get to the ones that are assholes. So the wrong one, maybe a cool one. I was in incidents in Salinas Valley. The Southsiders demolished this CO, this broad, and she was bringing the clavo, and they tore her ass up, and that wasn't even their target, but because they used the batons on the Southsiders there, and they told them, next time you guys hit the Southsider with batons, there's gonna be some repercussions, and that's what happened. And the first time the Southsiders came out, the first CO they seen, they attacked, and it was this female that was bringing it to someone I know, and it was all bad, but they attacked her and fucked her up. So don't think that the COs, just because they got cop uniforms on and they got guns and handcuffs, they don't get dealt with in prison. They got rules they have to go by, and they got their own rules and some of our rules, and sometimes if they break them, they will get attacked. Some of them get stabbed, some of them get their jaws broke. I've seen all that shit in prison. So my next craziest thing that I witnessed in prison, oh yeah, it was a blood. I want to say he was from Bounty Hunters. Even if he wasn't, he was a Damu from LA. And again, this cat was having an affair with a free staff in the kitchen. There's another incident. There's so many incidents about female staff having relations with prisoners that I could tell you about, but these are the ones that stand out to me. So this blood, this Damu cat, was having a long ass affair with this is at New Folsom, in the 2000s, between 2009 and 2013. I don't know exactly what years he was actually having an affair, but it was going on between this time. So this cat was having a full-fledged sexual relationship with this free staff white woman in the kitchen. They call it satellite kitchen in New Folsom. It's a kitchen in the building. Like, it's weird. You don't have to walk out of the building to go to the kitchen. So they would go prepare our food in there. And in New Folsom, they feed you in the cells. Well, when I was there, they did. I don't know about now. We never went to the kitchen, but they had workers go in there and work. This Damu cat, he was older too. He was in his late 40s, early 50s. And I knew him from another prison. I knew him from Vacaville when I went to the reception center side. And he was a cool cat. He was one of them suave, had some kind of swag about him, blood dudes. He wasn't all gangsted out, but he was a talker. He had the gift of gab. This dude was fucking this chick, man, white chick. And this chick was married. And he got caught in the act, bent her over the desk in her office and was fucking the shit out of her from behind. And an inmate walked by and seen it, and the inmate got jealous and went and told another free staff, and the free staff brought two COs, and immediately she started crying rape. Imagine that. You're having a relationship with a woman, you got a life sentence. You're having a sexual relationship with a woman that's married, and her husband worked at this prison. He was a sergeant. And they catch you bent over a desk getting hit by a brother. A white woman getting hit by a brother. But think about that for a minute. A brother had a white woman that worked at a prison, bent over a desk, giving it to her, giving it to her. She's married to a Mexican sergeant. What do you think happened? She was consensually fucking this dude, bringing him phones. How I know is because I bought a phone from him, and he was one of them. He liked me because he knew me from before. He knew he could trust me, and he told me where he was getting the phones from. So I knew about the business. A lot of his homies didn't know. He didn't trust his homies. He didn't tell them he was fucking this broad, but I knew. So she immediately, when the police walk in there, and another free staff start saying he raped me. Now I don't know the extent of the relationship, like if they talked about this before, if they got caught, but dude, they took dude to the hole, and he was in the back for like almost a year. And to be honest, I never thought I was going to see this dude again. I thought for sure that this dude was going to get beat up, shipped out, because I've witnessed it so many times. With Casey, with another incident too, a school teacher was getting fucked, and the dude got beat up and sent out. But anyway, so what happened was, her husband that worked there, I guess he had found pictures that, okay, this dude, like I said, he was selling phones and she was bringing them to him, so he had a phone. And when they caught dude, I guess they went to his cell, pulled his celly out or whatnot, and found his phone, and found naked pictures of the broad that he was fucking on his phone. So they couldn't charge him for rape. The husband fucked up. Her husband fucked up because he's the one that ultimately got her phone, and he tried to cover it up. He tried to cover this incident up and go ahead and let his wife call rape and get this dude a whole bunch of time. This dude wasn't no rapist, and that's a bad jacket to have. Black, white, Mexican. If you're a rapist in there, it's not good for you. So I can imagine what this Namu was thinking in his head when she cried rape. And then her husband ultimately got the phone with the pictures that he had of his wife naked in there, probably playing with herself, all kind of shit, probably videos and some more shit that we don't know about. But he ultimately got this guy's phone with these naked pictures of his wife, and he never brought it forward, but he fucked up because he told one of his co-workers. And little did he know this co-worker couldn't stand his ass. They had crossed paths before, and his co-worker spilled the beans on him. So this incident actually spilled over into the streets, because this CO that his wife was trying to rape, that was having a relationship with the inmate, he had smut on him too. It was a rumor going around that he was gay on the under, that he was watching people shower and you know, he was doing some. It wasn't confirmed, but a lot of people said he was a Peter Gazer, and he would walk by your cell during count time, and if he caught a motherfucker jack off, he'd just stand at the window and watch him. He'd back up and just watch him jack off. So when you get incidences like that, you label a motherfucker a faggot. And he had several incidences, and different races said that this cat was a Peter Gazer. So he was suspect. So a lot of COs knew this. So one of the cats he told that he had found these pictures on such and such's phone went and told SSI, SGI, the goon squad. So they ultimately had to drop the charge on this cat and fire the chick. Soon after, this sergeant who was married to the chick, he resigned. But before he resigned, the cat that told on him, the other CO, this dude spray painted his car in the parking lot, popped his tires. I heard they got in a fist fight in the parking lot, and then ultimately he was gone. Pete Ranzani hit my line, man. Pete Ranzani hit my line. if you see this video, hit my line. I'm gonna get it, Sal Lopez, and try to get your phone number. Pete Ranzani was a boxer, a professional boxer, and I didn't like Pete Ranzani when I was on the street before I started going to prison, because he ultimately ended Tony Lopez, his older brother Sal Lopez's career, by headbutting him, and he became a CO in New Folsom, and I was there with him. What's up, Sal? And I didn't like him because of that, not because of nothing personal, but because I know Sal could have became a champion. And because of Pete Ranzani headbutted him, he's a dirty fighter too, and he got a cut on his eye. He had to retire. He would have been a champion before Tony. Sal was tight. Sal was a welterweight though. Tony was junior lightweight. They lived right around the corner from my mom all my life, so I grew up boxing with these cats. Not so much as Sal, because Sal was older than us, but like I said, Pete Ranzani, he was the one that gave me this information about this whole incident I'm talking about. And he used to come talk to me because he knew who I was from the street, and he's the one that told me about the fight in the parking lot and shit. And Pete wasn't no liar. He might have been a dirty fighter, and I think Pete Ranzani was known. He wasn't a really celebrity boxer, but I think he was known because he fought Sugar Ray Leonard back in the day. I think that's what his legacy was. Sugar Ray Leonard beat his ass, I believe. But he ultimately ended my homie from my neighborhood, not 29th Street, but from the Garden, Sal Lopez, his boxing career from headbutts. I was there at that fight at the Memorial Auditorium, Sal. I was young then too, man. I wanted you to be a champion so bad. And when Tony took over, I was so happy when he beat Rocky Lockridge out that championship, man. He represented the Gardens. You guys both did. You guys put us on the map with the boxing shit. So, them are just some of the crazy shit. Let me see if I got anything else written down. It's getting kind of late. I'm up late tonight. Oh, I'm going to talk about, this was a crazy incident for me. New Folsom again. So, New Folsom was my first level 4 180 I ever been to. I've been to level 4s, but 270s. Now, for you that don't know, 180 level 4 is where the worst of the worst are. If you got in-house murders, in-house assault on staffs, a lot of points. CDC runs off a point system. Before it was 52 points. If you got over that, you'll be a level 4. But if you got into the hundreds, I know people at 800 points. I know people with 1,000 points. But a 180 is more secure than a 270 level 4. 180, they got 3 sections in each building. It's like a pie. And there are sections. A 270 is open like a level 3. A 270 design is a building, but the whole building is open up. A 180 is more secure. They got 3 pie sections in this, and the movement, you got a gunner above you all the time. And New Folsom was actually the first 180 level 4, 180 period I've ever been to. I've been preparing myself all my life for it though. And New Folsom was a prison I wanted to go to, actually. I could have went to a 270 instead of a 180, but because of Folsom is in Sacramento, I can't get no closer to home than Folsom, and I knew I had level 4 points, so I walked into a riot. I walked into a lockdown in New Folsom, and I didn't even know it. So I get to New Folsom, and the blacks and the Southsiders are locked down because the Crips and Bloods had a riot with each other a few months before this over a cell phone. I get there in 2012. Yeah, 2012. Godfather, what's up, man? Main Street Mafia. I get there in 2012, and the Crips and Bloods were on lockdown. So that leaves all the Bay Cats, the Hoover Cats, and the non-affiliates are not on lockdown as far as the black factions go, right? So Crips and Bloods are the majority when it comes to blacks in prison. If you get all the Crips and Bloods and put them on lockdown, that don't leave too many blacks on the yard. So I get there during this lockdown. I'm a Crip, so I'm on lockdown. And what happened was, while we were on lockdown, they brought 2 full buses of Southsiders to New Folsom from Salinas Valley, level 4. And they let them out on the yard. So now you got twice as many Southsiders there that was there before the Crips and Bloods went on lockdown, and you only got the Bay Area, the Hoovers, and non-affiliate blacks on the yard. And you got twice as many essays, Southern Mexicans on the yard. So the Southern Mexicans, seeing the blacks had a full basketball court and more workout bars than they had. That's not a good thing. When they see the blacks got more territory than them, and all the blacks ain't out, so they ain't knowing that these are Crips or Bloods bars. They can't just give the Bay Cat, so the Hoover Cats can't give these bars and half the basketball court away, because they know when we get off lockdown, that's our shit, that's our territory. Southsiders didn't like the they went up to the Coombe Cats, because they was closest to them, and they inquired about this property. We call it property. That's their, that's the term. A pull-up bar is somebody's property. A table is somebody's property. And these Southsiders push up deep on the Coombe car, and the one dude that had the keys for them, I'm not going to even say his name. I was going to say his name. I'm not going to say his name, because ultimately he paid not the ultimate price, but damn near for this incident. He lost an eye. He got stabbed 38 times, and they tried to kill this dude. So the Coombe Cat, I don't know if he had incidents before with the Southsiders, but the way it's always how you speak to someone. Prison is based on respect. If you are green to prison and your people didn't lace you enough, and you got the keys to a whole car, you should have known better than this, bruh. And I've been meaning to holler at you, man. These Southsiders went over there very respectful, and they asked him, can they have half of the basketball court and 2 pull-up bars and a dip bar that nobody was using. So in their eyes, they're looking over there, they're seeing this real estate that nobody's using because the Crips and Bloods are on lockdown, and they're inquiring about it because it's in a black territory. And this cat just disrespected these cats to the fullest, from my understanding. Told them, fuck you, don't ask, this ain't your shit, and woo woo woo. Well, these cats, you don't talk to Southsiders, Northerners, or white boys, or anyone, a man, period. But when you're in prison on a 180, I don't know if he had a bad day, but the way he disrespected these Southsiders, they just walked away. They was like, all right. And the next day, no, I believe, you know what? It wasn't even the next day. It was the same day. The 2 Hoover dudes told me about it because they was out there, and they got fucked up. The Hoover dudes all the blacks got fucked up. And I'm talking about these Southern Mexicans, they was trying to kill everything on that yard, and they was deep. And they didn't waste no time. This incident is in the record book, so you guys can look it up. 2012 Southern Mexicans against black inmates at New Folsom State Prison. I don't know what month, but this is a factual riot that happened over this one dude disrespecting the Southsiders. I'm a Crip. I come from a black gang, and I'm giving it up to, I'm keeping it real on my channel because I want to be as transparent and as real for you guys as possible. I'm not going to make the blacks or the Crips or the Bloods or my gang look good when we took losses in there. And the majority of the time we took losses, it was against the Mexicans. And I'm going to keep it real. We won some, but we took some losses. And this right here, this incident was a huge loss for a big mouth dude that knew better. They went, and this is what was told to me. As soon as this incident happened, 20 to 30 of them went to the shitter and started taking shits. What do you think they were shitting out their asses? It wasn't dope. They built a wall, a 4-man wall, with the dude that disrespected them. And 3 dudes, they had 4 men, okay? So this dude is over in this area, and there's a building behind him. And these 4 Mexicans, he had a little crew with them, but okay, look. So the head of the Mexicans get up on the table. He jumps up on the table. This is a known incident. He gets up on the table and he's directing his homies where to go. Hey, Paso, go over there and get him. Go over here and do this. Go over there. And he's talking Spanish to them, so the blacks can't understand. The Hoovers told me about this. I was there for like a week when this shit happened. We was on lockdown. So the cat that got smart with them, they got this dude and they got him on the ground. 3 dudes with knives, and they was stabbing the fuck out of him. In his face, in his back, in his side, in his torso, in his legs, in his arms. And they had 4 Mexicans standing guard so the blacks couldn't save this dude. And he was down there getting stabbed the fuck up like a pincushion. And not just him, the Hoovers was far away. But they ran up there, they ran up the hill to go help. And they got fucked up too. I mean, they probably got a couple Mexicans, but when it was all said and over with, I think a Mexican got shot in his foot, if I'm not mistaken. A Mexican got shot. And for some reason, and I'm not even going to put a 10 on it too, when there's a riot, back in the days, when blacks and whites got in a riot, blacks would get shot. When blacks and Mexicans get in a riot, blacks would get shot. But as of lately, what I've witnessed, they shoot Mexicans. And what do I look like? I look like a Mexican, because I'm part Mexican. But yeah, so you got to be careful on these yards, man. It's not no walk in the park. And this riot, man, this was a slaughter riot. It was one-sided. These Mexicans tore these niggas. They handed their ass to them. And we're not to say that if the Crips and Bloods were not on lockdown, what the outcome would have been. But I believe, this is wholeheartedly, I believe if that incident happened the way exactly like it did, and the Crips and Bloods were not on lockdown, I still think the blacks would have took a loss. And this is why I say that. Because when there's tension on the yard and you know something's going to happen, you have a day or two to prepare yourself, to get your knife, be prepared for it. Get your canteen and shit like that. Be prepared for it. But when an incident happens, you disrespect someone, and then that same day they take off, you're not prepared for it. They knew what they was going to do. The blacks didn't know. So if the Crips and Bloods weren't on lockdown, the outcome quite possibly could have been the same. But who knows, because on a level 480 yard, everyone has a knife on the yard. If it ain't on you, it's buried. So it would have been, probably a lot of people would have been killed if the Crips and Bloods wasn't on lockdown when this happened. It probably would have been a lot of murders, a lot of people getting shot, because we wouldn't have stopped, they wouldn't have stopped. And it would have been very ugly, man. This next incident, New Folsom again. There was a lot of incidents there. I was there, I think, 2 years, a little less than 2 years. And during that 2 years, we was on lockdown more than a year and a couple months. So every time we went to yard, it would kick back off because of the incidents that I'm talking about. So I start out in A section. One building, that is the upper yard. One building, A section is orientation. Second tier, A section, I get there, and I'm in the cell with a cat from Firebug. Firebug's ass was next to me. Blood dude from LA, cool ass nigga. But the first celly I had, I think, was Wicked from Northside Stockton. Northside Stockton. Little Wicked from Northside Stockton. I think that was my first celly. So I'm in there. Godfather is in B section. Doc from Harlem is in B section. And Doc is a known Harlem nigga. He's older in his 60s. He's been around. He's been in prison all his life. And it's some reputables in this building. So my homies is trying to get me over the 3 building. But I'm writing a book at this time. I just wrote a book at this time. My first book, my autobiography. And I find out Godfather is there from Main Street. The author, Wesley Hunter. I found out he's there. And I interviewed Godfather on my channel, but I haven't put the video out yet because it needs editing. We're going to do another interview. So Godfather's there, and he's already been there 28 years when I get there. Maybe a little less, 27. I know he did 30-something years for having a shootout with LAPD or San Diego PD and bank robbery. But he wrote a book about it. But anyways, so I want to go stay in one building because I hear Godfather's there, and I need him to help me with my books because I read some of his books. He got 30 books he wrote, published. Blue Diamond Publishing, I think his shit dropped up under an Amazon. Look him up, Wesley Godfather Hunter. He's out now. He's doing fabulous. Getting his money, living life to the fullest, living his dream after 30 years in prison. Salute to you, Godfather. I love you, man. I'll get you back on my channel. We're going to do an hour or so interview with you, man. And we're going to talk about all this shit I'm talking about. So, ultimately, I don't want to leave the building. I want to go to B section. Of course, we're on lockdown. So, you got pool when you're on lockdown. You could probably move to where you want to move. And plus these cats, these LA cats had pool, and they knew I was there. Doc took a liking to me. Doc from Harlem. He knew Bobo was my cellie a few years back at Soledad, and I knew Doc from before. Doc didn't have no teeth. Doc didn't have no teeth. Doc had no teeth on top. Dark skinned cat, looked like Elizabeth. That's my dude, man. So I moved to B section, and I move in with this cat from San Diego, 40s, 30s. Tone. I moved in with Tone. Knew him from Solano. J-Cat. Straight J-Cat. I move in with him. Immediately we don't get along. I knew one of us was either going to get very hurt in the cell, or it was just too much disrespect going, waking up at 4 in the morning, working out loud, walking back and forth. And now mind you, New Folsom cells are the biggest cells I've ever been in. They're like little one bedroom, what are they called? Studios. They're that big. There's hella room. They're like apartments because people that go to New Folsom 180s, the cells are huge because you're there for years. They don't want you in a little cell. And these cells are big. You could fight up in these cells. Me and this dude didn't get along. I'm gonna hurry up with this story because I've been on here a long time. Me and this dude ended up getting down. He was bigger than me, but he couldn't fight as good. Ultimately, he was a loudmouth. Doc was next door to me and heard the fight, and he got up out of there during pill call. He told the police he couldn't be in there no more. He moved upstairs. Okay, so that ain't the incident I'm getting to. So 2 youngsters come from Old Folsom, whole in their NCs, and they move to A section orientation, and they're writing me kites. Now I don't have a cellie. We're on lockdown. I don't have a cellie. So One of the cats is from my neighborhood. I'm not gonna put him out there. People from my hood are gonna know who I'm talking about. I didn't know him. I know his big homie. He was a youngster. He was a little cat. And a Stockton cat. They would sell these over there on orientation. They used to shoot me kites. So beings that me and my homie Money Mike from my hood was the only two cats in this building, I wanted to pull these guys when they got off orientation over to my section so we could have more homies in my building. Because we already had homies in 3 building, on the upper yard, 4 building, 5 building, 6 building. We had homies in every building, and I was the only one up North Crip in my building besides my homie Money Mike. And Money Mike, he was a player type of dude. I knew that if it got funky, I really couldn't count on him. If I pushed the issue, he would have to go, but he really wouldn't. If he wasn't a fighter. Okay, Money Mike's not a fighter. Let's just say that. So, I ultimately pulled these two cats over there with me, and I pulled the Stockton cat in the cell with me, and I put the homie from my neighborhood in the cell upstairs. So now there's 4 NCs and 5 NCs. Another cat came from Sacramento, but from Nogales, and he came from Salinas Valley. So there's 5 of us in this building, and we're all in B section. And when you're on lockdown, they let the races that are on lockdown go to a mini cement yard. So we used to go to this yard. I gotta end this video, but I want to tell this story. This is how violent and how things could end up all bad for somebody in prison. From nothing to something, it goes from 0 to 1,000 in seconds. So I'm thinking I'm moving good homies over there to my section, and we're 5 deep now in here. And mind you, Doc is next door to me. Doc from Harlem, the old cat. And this is my dude. He's a comedian. Him and Godfather used to bag on each other every chance they got. They used to have me cracking up, man. Prison ain't all serious and all violent all the time. You do have some good times in prison. You meet some good, righteous, upfront people in there. And Doc and Godfather are 2 of the realest cats I've been around. And Bobo. I can't even say them are the only ones. I met a lot of righteous people that I still call my friends to this day. Just, I don't know. But anyways, I moved this Stockton cat in with me, and he just came from old Folsom with my little homeboy from my neighborhood. And I moved him in the cell, and the first night he moves in the cell, he's like, dog, what are we gonna do about baby such and such? Like, what do you mean, what are we gonna do about him? He's like, he got paperwork on him. He got P-Dub on him. He told on such and such case. I'm like, bruh, you was just cellies with him up there. You just came from old Folsom, and you come down here to my cell and you're telling me, what are we gonna do about him? What did you guys do about him in old Folsom? And what was you doing cellies with him up? I said, you know what, bruh? He said, I'm going home next week. I'm like, you going home next week? He's like, yeah, I got to release that. I'm going home next week. And I'm like, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you to where he's at, and I'm going to move him down here, and I'm going to take care of you. So this dude seen the paperwork, gave me the phone number where I could call and verify it from. I called, verified it, seen the paperwork over the phone. So little homie is all bad. Nobody on a level 4, I don't care what race you're from, I don't care what other channels tell you otherwise. If there's a known rat and you're on a 180 and he's in your car or that car or that car or that faction, or if he ain't in no car, he's not gonna last. He's going to be removed immediately on a 180 yard, period. You might hear other channels. I heard these other cats talk about the blacks don't clean up their backyard. They got rapists. They got snitches in their groups. I've never seen that on a 180 yard, and I've been to plenty of them. On level 2s, maybe level 1s, yeah. On level 3s, never seen it. I've seen, no, I take that back. I just said my first lie on YouTube right now. I have seen it. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen it in what we call gangster snitches. That means there's paperwork on you, and no matter what comes at you, you get stabbed, you get jumped, they take you to the hole, they send you to another prison, you don't go S and Y. You just keep going to main lines, and you keep getting dealt with. I've seen that, and I also seen a known snitch. His people protect him for some reason, and I don't know what they wasn't from my car, so I didn't know what the circumstances were, but we pushed the line to get him removed, and they was like, nah, this is the homie, and he was a known snitch. I seen that twice. So yeah, they're correct on different yards, but 180s, never. So ultimately this would happen. I moved the cat in with me. I don't remember if I let the dude from Stockton go home and then I moved him in, or I moved the dude upstairs and moved him down. I don't remember. It was 10 years, 12 years ago. So I don't remember the circumstance, but I remember I moved him down there with me. Doc is to my left. I got a northerner to my right. Godfather, the cell next to that cell. And an Indian cat at the end door. And then 2 bay cats next door to Doc on my left. And I don't remember who's in the other cell next to the shop. I don't remember that far. But the first night I move him in there, he's up on his bunk. His mattress is rolled up. We already ate chow. And pill call hasn't come yet. Pill call hasn't come. And he's up there with his headphones on. And he's writing a letter. What? What? Uh-huh. So I did. Mom. I'm so sorry for that interruption. Where did I leave off at? That was an emergency. Ultimately, the cat from my neighborhood that I already verified this paperwork on is up on the top bunk writing a letter with his headphones on. I tap his leg, tell him to take his headphones off. Now these bunks in New Folsom, the bunk beds are super, super high. They're so high that there's a step on the wall, a bolt coming out that you step on to get up on them. This is the highest bunks I've ever seen. I tell him he takes his headphones off, I grab his leg, I grab his shirt, and I slam him from the top bunk onto the ground. He hits, but he's a little dude, and his leg catches on my bottom bunk, and he don't hit the ground like solidly on his back. He hits it on his side, and he rolls. And when he rolls, now I had a knife in the cell, but my knife was put up. It was hooped. I did not know this cat had a knife. And it was little too. It was a little knife. So when he hit the ground, a knife came flying out and it slid across the floor. Now, if anybody has been in a cell fight before, my intentions was to just beat this kid up badly, just mangle him. Now at this time, my release date was November 2021, and this is 2012. So I still have 10 years left, 9 years left. So I knew that I had to remove this cat. And a removal consists of either stabbing somebody or hurting them very badly. I could have took him to the little yard and had the little homies jump on him, stab him, whatnot. That's what they wanted to do. But I already had seen the paperwork. So I was obligated. And besides that, I just had a fight with the San Diego cat. So I was kind of mad that I didn't get him as good as I wanted him. So I still was angry. So this dude's knife flies out. He had it in his pants or in his sock or something. It flew out. When I see that, something clicked in my head. And it was like, you get all these emotions in a matter of milliseconds. I wasn't angry enough to try to kill this dude, but when I seen that knife fly out, I think he might have known that somebody knew he was all bad. Because why else would you have a knife out up on your bed unless you was just straight spooked of level 4 prison? This was his first level 4 prison, and he went to 180. So he probably was spooked. He was a youngster too, he was in his 20s. So ultimately I got the knife. We was fighting for it, and I got the knife. And this cat was so fast, he ended up back on the top bunk standing up, and I'm trying to get this cat's leg. I'm trying to get him down so I can poke him. And finally, I get him one time in the back, and I got him, and I seen blood on his shirt. It wasn't squirting out or nothing was real all over the place or none of that shit. I got him one time, and it spooked me. I ain't gonna lie, it spooked the shit out of me, because my intentions wasn't to even stab this dude. But because the knife came out, I had no choice. He either got the knife, he'd have stabbed the fuck out of me. So when I stabbed him, he was like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. He started freaking out, and that made me start freaking out. So I'm spooked. Doc next door in his 60s is a G at this shit, and he's like hitting the wall. And now mind you, after you eat chow, after they do count, pill call comes, right? And they open your slot door, your tray slot, and they call you the thing, and they give you your pills, and then you put them in your mouth, and then you swallow them, right? So pill calls coming in about probably 45 minutes to an hour, but there's blood all over this dude's shirt. His nose is all twisted up. His eye is big as fuck. I ain't got no marks on me, but some red marks where he was grabbing me. He didn't hit me one time. Okay. So now I'm in the cell, and I make him get on his top bunk, and I make him face the wall. He ain't got no music no more. I took his CD player. I took that from him. It's on the bottom. It's on the ground with me. He ain't got nothing on his top bunk but his mattress. And I'm making him sit on his mattress facing the wall. If he turns back around, I'm gonna poke him again. And I told him, man, don't move. So Doc's knocking on the wall, and Doc tells me to come to the tray slot. He's like, dog, what's going on? Did you get him? Oh, and mind you, I guess when he was in the cell, before he moved in my cell, he had borrowed someone's blue shoestrings and Doc's CDs. So Doc was like, dog, what happened? And I was like, it was some in-house person. He's like, no, I know about that, but what happened? Is he all right? Is he alive? I'm like, yeah, he's alive. He's like, nigga, get my homie shoelaces and get my CDs, nigga. I'm like, Doc. I'm like, bro. I said, I poked him. He said, what the fuck you do that for? And I said, I'll tell you later. I said, what, man? I don't want to go to the hole. He said, man. He said, watch this. And I'm like, what? He said, kick back. He said, put that thing in an envelope and slide it to me. I'm like, hell no, nigga, I need this in here. He's like, no, dog, listen, you can get away with it. All you gotta do is put it in an envelope and slide it to me. Clean the dude up. Clean him up. And I'm like, hell no, he ain't getting off his boat. He said, dog, you gotta clean him up. I'm like, what? He said, watch me get away with it. I've been through this shit before. And this nigga, Doc, had me make the dude clean up. And when the pill call came, so the pill call comes through C-section door to B section, then they come this way and they go down, then they go to A section. So they gotta go in front of Doc's door before they get to my door for pill call. And Doc's like, go along with it. Just go along with it. Tell your cellie to go along with it. If he don't want to be killed at another place wherever he goes, or if he don't want to be dealt with, tell him to just go along with everything. Listen to what I'm telling the COs when they come to the door. So I'm like, all right, nigga. So I go to my bunk, and I got my boots laced up. I got my shirt off. I'm in my sweatpants, and I tell Cuz, I almost said his name. I tell Cuz to get off the bunk and go to the door, because he gets pills. I forgot what kind of pills he got. I'm like, nigga, pill call's gonna come. Listen to Doc when he tells the police next door or the nurse next door, and go along with it. And I don't even know what's gonna go on. So ultimately, Doc is talking to the cop, or the nurse, or the nurse and the cop. I don't know. I'm at my desk and I'm acting like I'm writing a letter, but I'm shaking. I'm spooked. Just know this nigga's gonna tell that I just stabbed him and I'm going to the hole. So soon as they come from Doc's door to my door, this nigga runs back to the cell towards me and puts his back up against the wall. And he's like, go get your pills, dog. I'm like, I don't get pills. He's like, go get your pills. I'm like, well. So I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, I don't want to turn my back on this cat and him attack me in front of the police to get up out of there. So I'm up there and they're like, they call his last name. I'm like, I ain't got no pills. And I'm kind of watching him, and he does this to the nurse. And she's like, and he's like, I'm gonna hang myself. And I'm like, oh shit. And they press the alarm. The alarm's going off. Police is running in there. They tell me to step out the cell. I step out the cell, and the day when they put me at the table, they handcuff me, and they handcuff him. And he's like, I'm gonna kill myself. So I don't know what Doc told him at this moment. So I'm in the day when Spook Doc is in the window. He's winking at me. He's like, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. I'm like, shit. So the cops put me in a cell. A sergeant comes to my cell. He's like, did you know your cellie was trying to kill himself? I'm like, no, man. He's like, what have you been doing since chow time? I said, man, I was taking a nap, man. He was like, come on, dog. You wasn't taking a nap. You guys don't sleep in the daytime. I'm like, man, I've been tired. I've been working out. I went to a little yard today. I was taking a nap. He was like, man, that dude was trying to kill himself. He said, if it wasn't for your neighbor, we wouldn't even known. Your neighbor said he was trying to wake you up and tell you he was trying to kill himself. I guess he was trying to stab himself, and he would try to hang himself. And I'm like, oh shit, man, that shit worked. I swear to God, that shit worked. I never heard nothing about a write-up. I never heard nothing. But I went to the infirmary a couple days later, and suicide watch, you could see from the infirmary, he was in there with a smock on suicide watch, and he just gave me a fist and threw up the hood to me. And I'm like, all right, nigga, I threw up the hood. I was like, damn, 180 is a trip. You could stab a nigga and don't get in trouble for it. I was tripping off that shit. That is I got a whole lot, but that is really some of my most craziest prison incidents and what I witnessed in prison. I wasn't going to even give you guys my incidences because there was many of them. I was just going to give you other people's because I ain't one to toot my own horn. But the ultimate goal here at Prison Yard TV is to show these young cats, these kids, how dangerous, how your life can get took in a millisecond, and how you could lose your life to prison by getting a life sentence over nothing. And I think my story, that right there, that could have turned into a whole nother, it could have turned into a murder very fast. You got me in the cell, you got this youngster in the cell from my neighborhood. I took it upon myself to remove this cat with my hands, and he ultimately made a mistake by having a knife out, and I had to do what I had to do. These kind of incidents happen every day in prison. I got so much more. I'm gonna do a part 2 to this, because just while talking to you right now, I wrote some of my little notes down right here, but so many other incidences that I forgot about came to mind just thinking about talking about these incidents with you guys. So look, please, whatever you do, hit that subscribe button. I need you guys to subscribe. I need to monetize. If you guys want more stories, I got the Cash App down there if you want to donate. You got to keep this channel alive. I work every day. I do this on my spare time. But hit that subscribe button, man. Like and share, and please hit that notification button. And come back tomorrow. I got something very special for you tomorrow. I'm trying to get this cat on my live right now with me. I want to do an interview with him. He's a very exclusive guest. He's still in prison to this day. I'm trying to get a cell phone to him right now. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if it's going to happen. He don't have a phone. But I got a homie there in another yard with the phone, and I'm trying to get a phone to him. I'm trying to buy him a phone so we can do this interview. He's someone that a lot of people from prison really know his name. It's cracking. He got a life sentence, and he's someone that became dear to me, and I want to help him out. So I'm trying to give him a righteous interview, because his name, there's things that was said about him, and a couple of new cases that came up. And I want him to get his side of the story of it, because I ran it down to him on a collect call when he called me a few days ago, and he's like, "That ain't how it went. I will do an interview and put my story out there." So if you haven't already liked, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification button. Hit it now, and I'll be back with some bangers later on. Authentic prison stories from a real one.